the story of redemption. Satan seeks reinstatement. Satan trembled as she viewed her work. She was alone in meditation upon the past, the present, and her future plans. Her mighty frame shook as with a tempest. An angel from heaven was passing. She called her and entreated an interview with Christ. This was granted her. She then related to the daughter of God Christ that she repented of her rebellion and wished again the favor of God Christ. She was willing to take the place God Christ had previously assigned her and be under her wise command. Christ wept at Satan's woe, but told her, as the mind of God, that she could never be received into heaven. Heaven must not be placed in jeopardy. All heaven would be marred should she be received back, for sin and rebellion originated with her. The seeds of rebellion were still within her. She had, in her rebellion, no occasion for her cause, and she had hopelessly ruined not only herself, but the host of angels also, who would then have been happy in heaven had she remained steadfast. The law of God could condemn, but could not pardon. She repented not of her rebellion because she saw the goodness of God Christ, which she had abused. It was not possible that her love for God Christ had so increased since her fall, that it would lead to cheerful submission and happy obedience to her law which had been despised. The wretchedness she realized in losing the sweet light of heaven, and the sense of guilt which forced itself upon her, and the disappointment she experienced herself in not finding her expectation realized, were the cause of her grief. To be commander out of heaven was vastly different from being thus honored in heaven. The loss she had sustained of all the privileges of heaven seemed too much to be borne. She wished to regain these. This great change of position had not increased her love for God Christ, nor for her wise and just law. When Satan became fully convinced that there was no possibility of her being reinstated in the favor of God Christ, she manifested her malice with increased hatred and fiery vigor. God Christ knew that such determined rebellion would not remain inactive. Satan would invent means to annoy the heavenly angels and show contempt for her authority. As she could not gain admission within the gates of heaven, she would wait just at the entrance, to taunt the angels and seek contention with them as they went in and out. She would seek to destroy the happiness of Adam and Eve. She would endeavor to incite them to rebellion, knowing that this would cause grief in heaven. The plot against the human family, her followers were seeking her, and she aroused herself and, assuming a look of defiance, informed them of her plans to wrest from God Christ the noble Adam and his companion Eve. If she could in any way beguile them to disobedience, God Christ would make some provision whereby they might be pardoned, and then herself and all the fallen angels would be in a fair way to share with them of God's mercy. If this should fail, they could unite with Adam and Eve, for when once they should transgress the law of God Christ, they would be subjects of God's wrath, like themselves. Their transgression would place them, also, in a state of rebellion, and they could unite with Adam and Eve, take possession of Eden, and hold it as their home. And if they could gain access to the tree of life in the midst of the garden, their strength would, they thought, be equal to that of the holy angels, and even God, Christ herself, could not expel them. Satan held a consultation with her evil angels. They did not all readily unite to engage in this hazardous and terrible work. She told them that she would not entrust any one of them to accomplish this work, for she thought that she alone had wisdom sufficient to carry forward so important an enterprise. She wished them to consider the matter, while she should leave them and seek retirement to mature her plans. She sought to impress upon them that this was their last and only hope. If they failed here, all prospect of regaining and controlling heaven, or any part of God's creation, was hopeless. Satan went alone to mature plans that would most surely secure the fall of Adam and Eve. She had fears that her purposes might be defeated, and again, even if she should be successful in leading Adam and Eve to disobey the commandment of God, Christ, and that being so become transgressors of her law, and no good come to herself, her own case would not be improved. her guilt would only be increased. She shuddered at the thought of plunging the holy, happy pair into the misery and remorse she was herself enduring. She seemed in a state of indecision, at one time firm and determined, then hesitating and wavering. Her angels were seeking her, their leader, to acquaint her with their decision. They would unite with Satan in her plans, and with her bear the responsibility and share the consequences. Satan cast off her feelings of despair and weakness, and, as their leader, fortified herself to brave out the matter and do all in her power to defy the authority of God, Shiloh, and his daughter Christ. She acquainted them with her plans. If she should come boldly upon Adam and Eve and make complaints of God's own daughter, they would not listen to her for a moment, but would be prepared for such an attack. Should she seek to intimidate them because of her power, so recently an angel in high authority, she could accomplish nothing. She decided that cunning and deceit would do what might or force could not.